All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Sit Down by the Fire. We are here with screenwriter Victor Miller. So um, we can start the questions. I'll go first, Eric, and then you can.
That works.
I don't know if you would know the answer to this since you probably weren't really involved in a lot of the casting with the original Friday the 13th, but according to IMDb, Sally Field was auditioned for Annie along with Shelley Winters as Pamela.
Well, you're talking about ancient history. I mean, I went to some of the auditions and show-ups, but no, I don't remember that.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's just according to IMDb, and we wanted confirmation about that. So it's also you. What screenwriters? I guess. How did you really get involved in screenwriting, and what influenced you as far as your writing, etc., stuff like that?
Well, let's see. My cousin married a documentary filmmaker, and I visited them in Manhattan whenever I could, and I loved the whole atmosphere of the thing. But he was always films that are what are true, and I was always imaginary. So, but it was great to hang out, and that's kind of what got me in the area.
Right. You. That's exciting. Anything that we would probably know that your cousin wrote?
My cousin's husband,
Yeah.
Maxime Furlow, Furlaud. I have not looked up his IMDb in centuries, so
Okay.
but
Um,
he
well,
was helping me.
okay. Now, only really talk about this if you really want to. Since there is kind of confusion with the whole after lawsuit thing, clarify for the fans what you own and what Sean owns, if you can talk about it. So you complete the fifth.
Well, you'd have to talk to my attorney because
Okay.
he's the only one who could do that, and I suspect he wouldn't. So
Okay.
it's,
Well, you're going to plead the fifth. So we agree.
I'm not complete. I'm not pleading the fifth because I don't know anything. I pay no attention to what's going on.
Well, okay. Okay. Well, we'll just move on then. So,
Okay.
Because we don't want to dwell on it. So, and anyway, what out of all your work that you've written besides Friday the 13th, what one do you kind of wish that maybe fans would maybe talk more about? One like a work that you're very proud of.
Oh my God. I don't know. I enjoyed all kinds of things, but oddly enough, I had a lot of fun. I like working in a group, and so oddly enough, my daytime television work in a room full of writers was a delight. And I was I was not one of these people who goes off into New Hampshire and hides and then brings you a manuscript. I love having arguments and co-working with people, and it's just I was not the guy who goes off on, and you can't touch a word of mine. I just enjoyed telling lies. It was great
Right.
fun. Yeah, it's fiction. Fiction is not the truth, so it's great.
Right. Well, I think me and Eric can kind of agree because that when you're involved in the storytelling, brainstorming is some of the brainstorming and coming up with the ideas is some of the best parts of writing, especially with Eric, some of the ideas that you've made for your movies, a lot of it was just basically fans giving you suggestions and you did it and you incorporated it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. There are people, but they weren't me, who like to go off to New Hampshire and then come back and bring you 52 pages, and you may not change a word. I love working with other people. I love working by myself. It
right.
was just telling. I think it all started It all started in my youth. I was a terrible liar. Um, and I just went from no, I didn't steal the 15 cents to um, I am telling you the truth about these people in this show. But it was just it's. I found fiction just much more fun than reality.
Right. Well, it is because you can put yourself in a, you know, when you're writing a story or anything, you put yourself in anything. It's your own world. It's
Right. Yeah. 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 And it answers the question. What would I do? Let's say I'm in this room with three idiots, and what do I do with all of these idiots? And I got to answer these questions, and um, and it's just I think what's what I find stultifying now though is in my 84th year um, that I don't have the fun I used to have with just sort of sitting around with people saying, well, what if he had lost both legs in an accident, that sort of thing. Um, and now I love watching other people's work. I think I watch far too much television every day, and uh,
hmm
not soap opera as a rule, but I keep looking around. I've got stations on my thing that I've never even heard from before, and I love watching other people's work and enjoying it. I'm not out there as a critic.
yeah. I guess. But then that kind of does lead into another question. What advice would you give to maybe some inspiring screenwriters?
2 words: don't stop. I mean, it's everybody thinks, well, I don't know, they'll never like what I've written, or they'll love what I've written, or um, and I had to learn that to not think about anybody looking over my shoulder. That was the
hmm
hard part. And then, of course, when I wrote in a group, like at One Life to Live, All My Children, and those kinds of shows, um, it was a bunch of us, and that was much more fun. Even though I had to drive into New York 5 days a week, um, it was great fun. And even when we were doing it on the phone as well, um, there there has to be a time in seventh or eighth grade where you're sitting with all your pals and making up stories. Um, and in a sort of, I feed you a sentence, you feed him a sentence, he feeds me something, and you don't say, oh, I didn't like that. You just go with it, and you just keep going with it. And I love that thing, that storytelling. I guess it's the modern version in air conditioning with the guys just sitting around the campfire shooting the shit. It's just um, I'm just a group person. I don't like being off by myself, and at least when I was creating, though I did a bunch of things all by myself, and but I found it just much more fun to say, hey, I think I found a fix for that thing that we did yesterday, and you say, oh yeah, so did I, and then the whole thing, it's like being 12 and 13 years old again. That's
Right.
and it's that and this kind of and the only thing that can kill it is somebody from the network. They'll come in
Well,
and say, you did what?
well,
You gave her triplets? Oh Jesus.
hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, the network tries to kill a lot of things still, and even the MPAA. So we've all heard the horror stories about that. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
um, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because a lot of this I'm doing it from memory from watching countless Friday the 13th documentaries. I know originally the character's name was Josh.
Right.
Uh,
That's my younger son.
okay. Did now I can't remember. I think was I can't remember who it was who said that. I think they named the character Jason after one of their bullies or something. I can't remember exactly. Do you know the story behind that, or how did Jason come up? Do you know?
Um,
I think I remember hearing something like that. Again, like I said, this was in a documentary years
yeah.
ago.
No,
So
I just oh I'm there was a kid I knew many years ago. I mean, before I wrote Jason, who I hated.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like it was a bully that you or something.
yeah, he was a little creep, and
Yeah. And
you
then
know, go ahead.
yeah, and then so that so yeah, okay, so that was true. It was a bully or something that you remember when you were a kid or something. And what about the last name Voorhees? You know?
I'd rather not go into that because I got it from a real person. Um,
Okay.
um,
Interesting.
I would just as soon keep that private.
Okay.
Okay. Hey,
But
we hey.
it also has a wonderful sound because it's very un-American. I mean, Voorhees.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I always kind of assumed it was after the original guy who narrated the Twilight Zone before Rod Serling for the pilot, Westbrook Voorhees. That's what I always assumed it was.
No, that no, that it was somebody I went to school with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So. Um. You you really have the see. Any particular like stuff you're working on right now, or in your as you mentioned, you're in your 80s, or you just fully retired, pretty much,
I am fully retired, except talking to you guys,
and
and
and other fans too. So
and other fans whenever they knock. Um, but it's I would rather read what you wrote than write what I write, and because I think I'm a very good critic or helper, not a critic, but a scene
so
doctor or something. That, why isn't this working? Well, I'll tell you why it's not working because it's unbelievable from the get go. But you know
mhm.
that sort of thing. Um, I'm sitting here looking at this keyboard, and I'm so happy I don't have to earn my living with it.
Right. Well, that's the one thing that like you know Richard Donner preached it in his movies. Movies almost have verisimilitude. Making the audience believe and everything. And I think that's the key to movie making in general. You have to make the audience believe in whatever it is you're telling. Otherwise your story doesn't work at all. So
Right. Well, and the the interesting thing is, for me anyway, is of no interest to you guys, but um, my older sister and my older brother both went to summer camp, and my mother threatened to send me to summer camp, and I said, over my dead body, I'm not going to summer camp. And so I saved it up. Evidently, I didn't know I was saving it up for Friday the 13th.
right. Well, I think it
And
was sorry, there was another documentary that you said that you mentioned that like man in a summer camp, if somebody was out to get you, there's no. I mean, I would argue even now, that nobody could you couldn't really call for help or anything because half the places in the summer camps you don't have any service.
and it's so possible to get lost, and I say get lost, but in quotes because there was those stories about where you took this idiot child out into the woods and left him, and then by mistake he died. Um, those are my fears, my nightmares of if I had gone to summer camp.
Right.
So they say write what you know. Well, I can write what I'm afraid of, but I'm not sure I can write it. What it's like at getting hamburgers at the whatever in the summer camp.
Right.
So it's I usually created horrible places that I didn't want to go.
Right. So yeah, I guess you mentioned that you're kind of a critic now. Would you ever like maybe people who want to contact you if they want do you, I know some people do this. Would you have maybe fans look at their scripts or something? You know?
Um, I've thought of that, and I've never gotten any, or I haven't gotten any in the last 15 years
Yeah.
anyway.
Well,
Um,
I mean, that would be something. that would be something I would suggest to people. I mean, that because you could point probably you'd I think you'd love to give them advice on about how to make their story better. Seems like so.
As long as it's not too heavy a load of screenplays, but
right, nothing. Don't send them like something like Cleopatra or something like that. A 4-hour long movie.
Retired writer dies from reading poor script.
Right. Anyway, so I don't know if you were really on set or anything, but I heard that Tom Savini and the gang were kind of very wild on set and everything. Do you remember anything or not really?
Well, the only I went to visit the set just for fun, and I was there for the day that we poked the arrow up through what's his name's throat.
Kevin Bacon?
Tom Savini was under the bed with the arrow that had been hollowed out and with a blow tube, and it was absolutely fascinating because the whole thing came apart, and we only had one take, but it came apart. It came up perfectly as it's shown in the movie, but when Savini and his helper came out from under the bed, they were covered in blood, pig blood. But and that was fun. I find making movies really boring.
Yeah, I've heard that Tasso or one of his crew members, like it malfunctioned at first, and they had the actual blowing effect was them actually blowing.
Right.
And then they had to take him to the hospital because what was it they put in there or something? Some sort of chemical that.
I have no clue after that. I just know that there was a lot of hoorah.
I think it was like the chemical that they use for the fake blood or something. Again, like this is
clotting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they had to take Tasso to the hospital. I remember hearing that. I guess. I know, so you obviously then that kind of, I don't know if he would have been on set when that happened, but I know that one of Bing Crosby's kids was in it. I know he talked a lot about his father and everything on set. Do you remember recalling?
I just came there and sat there in that little cabin and watched them set up Savini and the half body. So
okay. Now, okay, well, I'm done with my questions. Eric, you can ask yours. So,
all righty, thank you so much. All right, let me bring up my questions. Okay, so Victor, as far as I'm aware, you are a fan of the Universal monsters, and then in that case, in 2027. The 1931 Frankenstein with Boris Karloff and the 1931 Dracula, like with Bela Lugosi, is going to become public domain at that time. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any thoughts about that, but I got Bela Lugosi's autograph in summer stock in Long Island when I was about 13 years old. He was doing Arsenic and Old Lace. What else? And that was great fun. But no, I just stayed at my little typewriter. I realized that the last place I wanted to be is on a movie set.
Yeah, well, like I said, we got to interview on this podcast, web show, talk show, whatever we want to call it. We got to actually interview Sarah Karloff and Lynn Lugosi, the granddaughter of Bela Lugosi. So that was pretty cool and
terrific.
And so now, so you and you mentioned when we were corresponding that you actually lost that picture, right, of the autograph or something, or do you still have?
Yeah, my autograph book with Bela Lugosi's hand in it. Yeah.
That's a shame.
I know, but hey, I was 14, 15 years old.
Right. So, Eric.
That's a shame. All right. So if you're legally allowed to talk about this, what would you do with a script for a 13th Friday the 13th film?
A 13th, Friday the 13th?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not giving anything away. Once the check cashes, I'd be glad to answer the question.
Okay. There's his answer.
Totally fine.
Hey.
Yeah.
So.
Because otherwise, we'd just be in the next 3 years. We'd just be in suing each other.
Right.
Because it would be so good, or whatever.
All right.
My assumptions. No, but I think I've used up my brain. I have a lovely life at 83 or whatever the hell I said I was. 03, yeah. And we moved out here to California to be near both married sons, and one is a bass player, and the other one is a high-powered executive, and it's great fun to be out here. And I'm living on the ill-gotten gains from writing and whenever things I get checks.
All right, that's totally fine. So my next question.
Ready.
What inspired you to get into script writing?
I would think it had a lot to do with the fact that right out of college and after I was getting into some jobs, I was doing a lot of work with getting. There was a government grant, and so I was taking theater games and stuff into the high schools in Connecticut, and so it was just much more fun to play around and see how twisted I could make everything. Because I had in college I wrote prose, if you call it prose. There was a story at Yale. There was a thing you had to write a full page of fiction every day and hand them in. It was called Daily Themes. That's what it was, and I loved that stuff. And so it was a lot of fun to just sort of noodle around. And once I found the métier, if you will, of horror, it's just horror is so much easier than saying, well, I got some strange people here. And I slept with a light on until I was sent away to boarding school. And then if I slept with a light on, they would have roasted me to death. But it was, if you want to write horror, you should be afraid. Because otherwise, how would you know how I'm supposed to feel when I see the curtain blow in my window and I never remember leaving it open? All that kind of stuff. It's great fun writing those kinds of things. There was a lot of pressure because I had a wife and 2 kids and a mortgage. Otherwise, it was la-di-da.
Right. Well, I think it takes a certain art to at least write good horror, because like you could easily make the jump scares, but you have to kind of make it atmospheric, and have the scares at the right points, and so.
And you don't know the right ones until you've screwed it up.
Right.
I mean, that is what I love about this. As long as if you have a budget of $1 billion, fine, do whatever you want. But otherwise, we were always working very close to the end of the checkbook, and so you had to really be very choosy.
You're right. I mean, I think that that is kind of. I wish that we, a lot of theaters would maybe more give like smaller horror movies at least a shot, because some of the independent horror movies that are coming out now, are pretty scary. Like I mean, obviously, there's the the big one right now is the Terrifier franchise, but
Yeah.
I haven't even heard about it. So
it's a killer clown movie actually done right. So
okay, because it seemed I had heard from way back.
yeah, it's not quite like it. They're on
Okay.
Tubi. If so, and Eric, where else are they streaming?
I know the Terrifier 1 is on Tubi, and it's on one other streaming service. I forgot what it was. Terrifier 2 was on Peacock, but they took it down. And to be honest, I think I like Terrifier 2 better. Is because it has a better story. It also has a better main character. So if you were to ask my opinion, and a lot of people would agree, Terrifier 2 definitely is a lot better than the original. And so yeah.
Terrifier 2, I would argue, is better just because they have the evil, they have the Dracula character, and then they have the Van Helsing character. And I think in a horror movie, you kind of need the balancing acts, of the good and evil characters, kind of. And so,
yeah, and
I would suggest them just keep in mind they're quite violent. So,
very violent. It pushes it. Absolutely.
I'm afraid they've gone past my comfort zone. I mean, it's just, to me, it's you got a bucket of blood and a big paintbrush. But I like it less, and I don't think today's audience likes it less. I mean, they have now been spoiled by the movies you're talking about.
Yeah, I do more. I do more like the stuff like Friday the 13th, or even the Universal Monsters. I personally actually prefer those, just because I guess I guess if I really wanted to see that type of violence, I could watch the news. Is how I look at it. So
there you go, or go to police school.
Right.
Yeah.
There you can get it live before you even take a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, heck, as soon as you turn on the news, that pretty much is your real life horror film there.
Yep.
So,
well, that and Washington D.C.
I can believe that.
Much more horrible with less blood.
Yeah. All right.
All right, definitely. All right. But yeah, so thank you so much for answering those questions. My next question is, what are your thoughts on the Friday the 13th sequels?
I haven't seen any of them.
Okay, yeah. So that is true from IMDb. So you haven't seen any.
I mean, no. Why would I go see something that was, it's like saying, well, I made love to a prostitute, and I just fell in love with our child. Not true. Didn't work. Isn't. And I just, why would I want to see what you did to my work?
That's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I got paid. Let us not fool each other that I'm just loving horror. I had to, I had kids in school and college and all kinds of shit. So
yeah. So
yeah, well, hey, at least you got paid for it.
Oh yeah, well I wasn't cut out for retail.
As long as the check clears, you're good. So
yeah,
we're through the uprights.
Yeah, it's because you have to put food on the table somehow, and you have to put your kids to college somehow. So
right,
mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know. I think I wanted to make my father crazy. He was a businessman. I mean, first of all, he was in the Navy during World War II, but then he was a businessman, and I watched him go into New York every day and come back exhausted. And I said, I'm not going to do that. So I did not follow in his footsteps.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough. So my next question, since it is the month of December, I thought it would be fitting to ask you, what are some of your favorite Christmas movies?
Christmas movies. Holy moly. I don't think I have watched a Christmas movie in 20 years.
Wow.
And my memory is already going. So it is what I don't know. Hasn't Christmas gotten expensive enough for you?
It has, like with
Yeah.
gifts. So yeah.
I mean, my wife has got presents for everybody, and we've been and whatnot. And how many times can you give me a cigar lighter? One usually does it, but I don't need anything. I got my cigars and I got flame, and I only have one a day. So,
All right.
all right.
Thank you so much. So my next question: have you seen any of the Friday the 13th fan films? If you have, what are your thoughts on them?
Have I seen the fans? I've not seen any sequels.
Oh well, no, I'm not talking about
fan film.
fan films.
Oh, fan films.
Yeah.
Nah. To be brutally honest, I kind of got tired. I mean, I think you guys have a much better grip on what will sell and what will get through. Because don't forget, I was raised on movies like Seven Keys to Baldpate. Have you looked that one up?
Good movie.
It's a wonderful movie, and it scared the bejesus out of me. What was I, 12 or 13? Maybe 14? Seven Keys to Baldpate. And that, for me, was horror. And so I would be doing myself a disservice to try to reproduce that or invent a new form. Plus, I like my life, and I really enjoyed. The most fun I had was writing in daytime drama, because it was you, me, and two other guys or women, and we would bat around the table, and we had a lot of fun, and it was and we laughed and cried and died and all that. And I am really a group worker. I don't like just sitting over here and saying, well, what'll I do today? It was much more fun writing in a group. So,
alrighty.
As long as you don't insult each other, like, oh, not another one of that shit, no, but
Right.
yeah, it's fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, all right, my next question: have you ever thought about directing a movie yourself?
Over your dead body, I will become a director. I don't want. They have to sit in that chair all day long and tell people what to do, and no, they didn't do it well enough, or this is. I thought we had that we discussed. While you're being a director in your little chair, I'm working on the next film on my
Right.
what used to be a typewriter.
Well, I think, Eric, you can, even though you have directed a few movies, you can definitely relate that, directing is not exactly easy peasy. So,
no. Why do you think I chicken out?
Yeah.
I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention any names, there are some actors out there that are really difficult to deal with on set.
Oh, really? I wouldn't know about that. Oh my goodness.
Right.
You haven't lived till you have worked in daytime drama.
Yeah. Well, I could. I've heard some stories about some of the soap actors behind the scenes. So.
Yes.
And so.
So yeah. So my next question: Friday the 13th was one of Kevin Bacon's first movies. I don't believe it was his first movie. It was one of his first movies.
Right,
I was
yeah.
wondering, do you still keep in contact like with Kevin, like or Adrian King or the rest of the cast?
No, I haven't talked to Sean in 50 years either. So,
Long time.
yeah, whatever. No, writers and actors don't need to be friends. Oftentimes, they are mortal enemies. You made my character too mean. Anyway.
You made my character do this and that.
Yeah, I would never have done that. So
Right.
just stay away. I mean,
Or then, sometimes you've heard the stories that the actor, maybe he's played a character that you wrote multiple times,
right.
and then like he says, well, I feel that this guy wouldn't do this,
That's why I don't want to be a director, because I'd have to answer the question about which way are we going to go for this poor fucking writer or the actor who hates it. So
right.
So
Fair enough.
I mean,
it's. I mean, you have to be a little weird to get into a group art anyway.
Right.
People as crazy as me should be painting. And just send out for more white paint. But
right. Well,
I wasn't that guy.
Well, I mean, all artists are. If you have to do your research on, all artists in some ways, they were all weird in some ways. I mean, especially like look at Picasso and his, lifestyle. I mean, just a really weird guy. And even if you look at some of the famous, I think you even have to be a little crazy even to be in any form of the public eye a little bit, because if you do your research on some of the famous people in history, like a lot of them were just weird guys,
Right,
like, not really getting much into it, but even like Churchill, for instance, is one that comes to mind. Very great speaker and everything else, but a really weird guy,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it turns out that most artists, or in Churchill's case, government people, politicians, we're just all weird. I mean, the rest of my friends and neighbors are going to offices. Well, they don't have to now; they have computers at home. But it got very tame in there. So
right. So
fair enough, yeah. And even a more modern day examples of artists who are a little bit out there is Tommy Wiseau. But yeah, that's a more modern day example. But so my next question. So according to my research, you were inspired by the original Halloween, like to write the script for Friday the 13th. And so I was just wondering, have you ever met John Carpenter, like, or have you met anybody involved with the original Halloween?
No. I was just I was trying to raise. Let's say my wife was working for a lawyer in Stratford, Connecticut, and I was trying to have a career as a writer, and I grabbed anything that went by.
All right.
All righty. Fair enough. So some of the other questions I was going to ask actually were already answered, like in other ways. So that's all the questions that I got. So yeah.
Well, and so but we could just kind of we usually like to go for an hour, so we can chit chat for the next 20 minutes if you have time, Mr. Miller.
Well, if you have a burning question, fine, but otherwise I'm going to go back downstairs and not have a cocktail. I haven't had one since 1989. I don't mean to start tonight.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
If you,
Well, yeah. Well,
if you have more questions, just email them.
All right.
okay. Yeah.
If you forgot to remember something,
Yeah.
I'll reply.
Well, yeah. I could safely say that he's very good at replying at his emails. So, do you? I guess the other thing is there any? Is there for fans that want to get in contact with you? Just I mean, are you on any social medias or no? Just shoot you an email.
No, just through email that I know of.
Okay.
I am. You guys haven't been 83 yet. It's a lot less fun than it looks. But hey, the big news today was I went and had a haircut.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't had a haircut since like 2021, so it's been a while on my end.
Well, to be fair, you shaved your head before that, so.
I did, yeah, and and I will admit on the one positive end, I'm not getting a haircut for so long, is that it has saved me a lot of money. So.
Right.
Well, then write a really good horror movie, and you can have a barber come to your house.
All right.
Well, hey, well, we will. We will. So I'll just let people do that and everything, and yeah, we'll chit chat for the next 20 minutes, and thank you, Mr. Miller. Hopefully, you can come on again sometime.
You are perfectly within your rights to call me Victor, and if you need more material, just email me, and we'll have another one of these.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
We can go for but I'm going out before I. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. How do I get out of here? Oh, there it is.
Okay, he got it. Well, happy birthday, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. Tomorrow is my official birthday, turning 31. Oh.
Well, by the time that this will premiere, will be after Eric's birthday, but but yeah, I think that was fun. So I think we hit it off with Victor Miller.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, but yeah, some of the questions I was gonna ask him, he already answered like on your end. So I was like, well, there's no point in asking him the same question twice.
Right. Well, and even if he kind of expanded on a certain question that I said and yada yada yada, but no, that was fun. I think it's great. He's kind of developed a bit of a. I mean, hey, he mentioned it. He's 83 years old. And he's kind of deserved his retirement, I would say.
Oh, so. Definitely, yeah.
And
after that lawsuit and all that.
I mean, I know that he, said how I'm in his right to call him Victor, but I was just showing him respect,
right,
Mr. Miller, but so at least we're on a first name basis with him. So hey, that's cool. But it was interesting to, at least for me, to find out about how sort of like what we do, in back rooms, we talk about, stuff like what we did, like how we brainstormed future ideas for some of your movies and stuff like that. And he said that was some of the most fun he has as writing. That one was interesting for me.
Yeah, like, as soon as he mentioned that, I was like, hey, when we finally get the script done for Dracula versus the Frankenstein monster, we then could have him take we could have him take a look at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love to have him at least maybe be like, give ideas or something. I mean, obviously, I would, if we got Victor Miller as a story consultant or something for Dracula versus the Monster, I would feel honored by that one. So that one,
yeah. Definitely.
And
yeah.
So, yeah, no, this was a connection that I've had that most people have known for a while. That me and I mean, I wouldn't say like a close relationship, but I mean, we've emailed back and forth, and I've talked to him, and I'm happy that he showed up and was on our podcast. And you know, I'm going to definitely try to use more of the connections I do have, and because that one was fun, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and
And
I know I get why he didn't want to, why he couldn't talk about the lawsuit. We get it, but
makes sense.
that's why we said if he wants to talk about it or he can plead the fifth with, he kind of. I didn't really want to dwell too much on that part of it, because I didn't want have him get angry and leave. Because oof.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the last thing that we want to have happen. And yeah, and I have some of mine too. Like one of the big ones is Kane Hodder. But yeah, and so I did do research last night, and it turns out that Kane's agent, Judy Fox, the one who gave me the keys to be a member of SAG, she actually did an interview once. So heck, we could get her. We even could get Tamara Blinn from Halloween 5. We could get
No, there's plenty.
Keenan from Friday Part 5.
Right. No, there's plenty of people we could get. We just have to kind of, see what happens next year. And because this is planned on being the season finale, there are people who are being talked about, but who knows? But this was kind of meant to be a little season finale for you guys to sit down by the fire, and then next year we're going to be talking about. But there are people that we were talking about. We don't know for sure. You know, but yeah, no. Eric, what was surprising to you about here with Victor Miller? Being interviewed by.
Just his personality. I just wasn't really sure what to expect out of it.
Yeah, well,
and I want to make myself clear. I'm not saying that it's bad.
No, I mean, how do I put this in a nice way? He kind of has that like that good old boy, grumpy old man attitude, if that makes sense. Like I'm not meaning that as an insult, but I mean, I get it. He's 83 years old and set in his ways, and there's nothing wrong with that. He seems like just a very nice guy, and but yeah, I'm not gonna, out of respect for him, if you guys have any questions for Victor Miller, I'm not gonna, out of respect, I'm not gonna leave his email in the comments or even the description. If you guys have questions for Victor Miller, I will gladly email them to you, and my email is always open, and I can email them back to you if you just leave me your email address. Like say, hey, I have a question for Victor Miller, and say your YouTube name, and I'll get back to you on it. Just out of respect, I'm not gonna put his email in the
Right, yeah, definitely. It's because that's like saying, for argument's sakes, like if you were to put out like my address in the live chat and all that, it's more so out of a respect of privacy thing.
Right. And like, I'm not gonna, yeah, I mean, even if me and Victor Miller ever got on the terms of phone number or anything, I'm definitely not gonna be leaking his phone number out there.
Oh, definitely don't.
So no, but I'm feeling, I felt pretty satisfied about that one. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Knowing that I've known about him since I was a kid, I've seen the very original Friday the 13th when I was a kid. I definitely was a little bit awestruck, finally getting to talk to him. But yeah,
well, I think that
I feel like I didn't get as awestruck as I did with Sarah, though.
Well, I mean, doing this podcast has This could definitely open up big doors for us, and that's one of the things I like doing it is we're talking to people that we've seen in these documentaries for years, and it is one of the reasons why like I do like the idea of clarifying maybe some rumors like the casting stuff. Like I find that interesting, which like Sally Field as Alice, which I love Sally Field, but I just don't know if I could see it, and then Shelley Winters as Pamela. I just don't know if I see that.
Yeah, I said this before. If they do a Friday the 13th reboot, which they probably eventually will anyway, I've been saying this for years. I think Kathy Bates would be perfect as Pamela Voorhees. Like, if you watch her role in Misery, that essentially is Pamela.
Yeah, I just think that maybe they should go younger, since Kathy Bates is 75 years old, and I'm not being ageist or anything. I'm talking more longevity.
But yeah, like, say for argument's sake, if they did an older version of Pamela. But yeah, I mean, regardless of the age, though, could you see it?
Yeah, I could see it. Who I would pick, honestly, as Pamela now, because you have to think Betsy Palmer was a star back in the 50s. I mean, she worked with Jack Lemmon before. I mean, she was a star in the 50s and kind of fell out of favor. A lot of different factors. She got hired as a game show artist and she kind of got deemed difficult to work with. And she actually, from what I've read, I'm not going to really fully say it or not, but from what I've read, this is only from what I've read. I wasn't there, obviously, so I'm just relaying what I was told and what I read. She got involved in the game show stuff, and she was also, I guess, an alcoholic, and was deemed difficult to work with. So that's what I've read. I'm not saying. I'm only saying what I've read. I'm just relaying.
Yeah,
I'm just the messenger. Basically that. I'm not. So, but
it's also a well-documented fact. The only reason why Betsy Palmer did the original Friday the 13th was because her car broke down and she needed money for a new car. And then her agent said, yeah, I got the script that came in that could help pay for a new car. Then her agent said, the bad news is it's a horror movie. And then Betsy Palmer was like, oh no. And then Betsy Palmer read the script and she called it a piece of shit. And then she was like talking down on the movie. And I believe that she said nobody would ever even see this movie. Ironically enough, that is the movie that I believe that she's most famous for nowadays. And that knowing that afterwards, she would do all these cons, meet all these fans, sign autographs, and she would ask the fans. And she mentioned this in the documentaries, like his name was Jason and Crystal Lake Memory. She was like, why do all of you love this character, Pamela Voorhees, so much when she's a despicable person killing people? What the fans would say, it is because that we understand why that she did the things that she did, is because that she was just trying to protect her son. Granted, she did it in a very extreme way, but we still understand that she was just trying to protect her child.
Right. Well, who I would get as a Pamela Voorhees nowadays, I have two choices. Number one is Demi Moore.
Interesting choice.
Well, I mean, I say that because Demi Moore is a great actress. I mean, and really, what has she done in the past 20 years? And it could be it could be a good potential, like, I don't want to use the term comeback, but a good like franchise role for her. I think Demi Moore could pull it off, honestly.
Oh yeah, I think so. And correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't she married to Ashton Kutcher, or was that someone else?
Yes, that's what she's most known for our generation. But yes, she was. And then my other choice is Tatum O'Neal. Um, she, I think that she would be a very good um, Pamela Voorhees. So, but
So, but yeah,
I
Friday the 13th definitely is. It's pretty much like if Halloween and Psycho like were mixed in to one. It's
right,
because it definitely has that music that is very Bernard Herrmann like, but it has the formula of Halloween.
right. It was interesting to definitely talk to Victor.
Oh, definitely,
Um,
yeah. I never thought in my nearly 31 years of life that I ever would talk to Victor Miller. I definitely was awestruck, but the thing that has helped me, like with talking to these famous people, they are people just like us.
and what advice did I give you?
They all poop. They
I mean,
all take a big fat load. Just
it's true.
like
It's true. I mean, because well, what I thought was funny, his answer when you asked him, did he ever think about directing? Hell no, because
over my dead body.
yeah, because Eric. I mean, listen. I think it's safe to say. I mean, here's a question for you. As far as picture making, and you've made 3 of them so far.
The third one is almost done. So essentially, yeah, I have made 3.
Well, technicality 3.
Yeah.
Um, I can. What is your favorite part of picture making, and what's your least favorite part?
Well, I get it. We all have our preferences. There are some people who feel like they want to do the directing part, but some don't. To me, I feel like filming it like is one of the most fun parts of it.
So you,
Editing is one of the least fun parts because you have to deal with tech issues. That's the
I
issue I've had with my third movie. So in my opinion, I say either casting it or filming it. I think I'll go more so for filming it.
so it's I think you and me are kind of in agreement. With the movies I've made, I do like the movie making part of it. Making the picture. Casting it. But then my least favorite part is editing because listen. I mean, technology. It can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And
Yeah,
but that being said, as somebody who has cut on film before, I would much rather cut on digital than on film.
yeah, and even my film professor I had this semester, he said the same thing. He was saying, "Why in the world would anybody want to edit on film? It is such a pain in the ass, and that's why so many people nowadays are filming on digital." While the counter argument I've heard is like that, oh, but you lose that feel like that film has. I'm like, you can just use a filter.
Yeah, you could, or I mean, there's ways where even without a filter, like I've heard of people actually. Here's what I've heard of people doing: recording their movie off of VHS tape, and
You
then
could do that if you truly wanted to have like that gritty grindhouse feel to it.
yeah, well, I've heard people do that with the film look. You
Okay,
know,
I just think that Simba wants to go out, and we got like a minute left. So
well, hey, thank you, everyone. Hopefully, they're helping people that Eric has talked to. I don't know if they'll say yes or not, but we will definitely, hopefully, do this again. And thank you for your year of Sit Down by the Fire.
yeah, buddy.
And this is the season finale. So, Eric, any final thoughts on this whole, I guess, season of Sit Down by the Fire?
It's been one heck of a season. Like Sarah Karloff, Lynn Lugosi, Craig David Dowsett, all those other people. I mean, heck, I've wanted to talk to Sarah Karloff since I was in like the 4th grade. And then this year I was like, hey, she is in her 80s now, so now is the time to do it because I thought, hey, I'm not going to have my chance forever. So
Um,
to think that because of that, that pretty much is what started this whole series. So if it wasn't for my ambition with Sarah Karloff, I don't think that we would be here now doing this 17th episode. It would have been ironic if it was the 13th episode because of Victor Miller, but hey.
Ironically, I think Lynn was the 13th episode, so it kind of worked.
I believe so, yeah. So, and also it was ironic. Well, when I was on the football team my freshman year of high school, the jersey number I had was number 13. Just ironic. Okay, Simba wants to go out, so
all right, well, I'll wrap it up. So thank you, everyone. We had a lovely time. I think that we can say that we definitely had our highs and lows with it, but I really enjoyed this, and see you guys next year. So
thank you.
Bye bye.